Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, and welcome back to another Marvel Strike Force video. Today we have something pretty interesting to talk about. Now, there's going to be a full disclaimer here that what I'm about to tell you is not 100% fact and proven, but I have on good authority to believe that, a lot of people were saying that we weren't going to be getting a raid team next patch. And I think it's pretty safe to say that we're not getting a tech raid team next patch. I actually do think that we are going to be getting the coveted Mystic raid team for a couple of reasons. One, because, my sources within the Envoy program has told me that this is probably likely. Nothing that I have learned in the past has made me think that I'm being lied to. That being said, anything's possible, and so I'm just gonna, put this right here, as always, like I would do with the blogs and stuff, that, this could be subject to change. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about why I think that we may, in fact, be getting the Mystic Raid team and who may be on that list. So if you're ready to go, everybody, then let's boil this down. Now, first off, I want to start on this page. Now, this picture here on the right-hand side you might have seen is what was formerly on that really bad PR video that Boundless posted to their Marvel Strike Force YouTube page. I'm not sure if you can still find that video. It was all about the 5th anniversary. I think it's still there. But anyways, it was a horrible movie, or a horrible, horrible video about the 5th anniversary, which was a god-awful event in the month of March, I think it was. And this photo here was because they announced that their new character coming to the game, their new OG character, is none other than Vol. And I think a lot of people forgot about this. And so when I was speaking with some of, I'm not going to say some, there was a couple of people who I've been speaking to, and they said they were quite excited with things to come. And when they say that kind of, to me, leads me to believe, and they didn't actually say specifically, which characters and whatnot, but that leads me to believe that they're probably raid characters. And because of all this talk about that there isn't a tech raid team, and also the tech raid and incursion is the last lane, the last section, leads me to believe that the Mystic Raid is in fact coming, the Mystic Raid team, with Vol at the head, or maybe not at the head necessarily, but going to be part of this team nonetheless. Who is Vol? You might wonder. Maybe you forgot, because not many people have really been talking about this lately. The creative team at Boundless Entertainment has introduced 3 blah, 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 blah. Later in 2023, Marvel Strike Force will introduce a 4th original character, Vol, the game's first non-binary character. Vol is one of the first Asgardians and keeper of Valhalla. We're in Pride Month, in case people forgot. Happy Pride Month, everybody. And so for that reason, that's part of it, that I think that this would be a very apt time for them to release this character, either within June or very shortly thereafter. So, I'm looking at my calendar right now. Unfortunately, you can't see it in the bottom right-hand side, because my calendar opens up on my different monitor. But the patch is going to be on Tuesday, June the 20th. That's next Tuesday. And there's going to be a character on release. Now, a lot of us believe that it's going to be Spidey big time. There's a possibility that that's true. There's also a possibility that maybe he's not the first character to be released. Just because he was mentioned early doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be the first character to be released on the patch. He might be, though. I don't have the data to suggest whether or not, characters that were announced on blogs are necessarily in that order that they're released. But we've been getting characters basically every single week. And so that leaves still the following week, which would be the 27th and 28th, which is still the end of the month and still part of Pride Month, for them to release a character. Now, we do know that Super Skrull is also going to be released in this time period, because Dark Dimension 6 is also being released in June. However, that doesn't really impact, because he doesn't have red stars associated with the orbs and stuff. That doesn't really matter as far as when characters are released in the orbs and the offers or whatever. So that's just kind of like in between all that. So I think that Vol will be part of the Mystic Raid team. Now, this is kind of funny for a couple of reasons, because Deathpool you know, in the photo above, of course, was a Mystic Raid team 2 years ago. And it's also funny because there's a lot of Mystic characters. Deathpool, Spider-Weaver, in fact, they were all Mystic except for Kestrel, who was dual tagged. Now, I would love to have more dual tag characters. As a little bit of an aside, it's really disappointing we've only had 2, and we haven't had anyone in a very long time. Will Vol be dual traded? Who knows, right? Maybe she'll be Mystic and, I don't know, Bio? Have no idea. That was just a random guess. But we do know that she is associated with the Asgardians and Valhalla. Now, what's also interesting is that we're still getting Thor Infinity War, who is associated with the Nowhere team. He has an Asgardian tag, but I don't believe Vol might have the Asgardian tag, but I do believe that the team itself for the Mystic Raid team will be, you know, a completely separate tag in itself. But there is a good chance of overlap in some additional side tags for, you know, gamma purposes, or I don't know, any other purposes, maybe the Scourges, or that have those kind of carryovers for that. So, you know, I was browsing on the Marvel Wiki, like I do, you know, about like what characters could come that were at least associated with Asgardians. Now, one thing that I do want to say right up front is that based on what we know from the Nowhere team and some of the other teams, you got to think that you got to think like Boundless. Okay, and so like 1 or 2 of these characters are going to be completely left field, largely unrelated probably, and, you know, they may not exactly be, you know, associated with Asgardians. So not all the characters that I thought about were Asgardians fully. Now, I'm also thinking about whether or not there's going to be variants or alternative versions, and so obviously I have to pivot first to Loki. Now, I don't know, this is actually, because this TV show is coming later on, season 2, I almost think that they might wait to do something with him then, rather than releasing him as part of this raid team now. So I don't know how likely this is or not, but I had to think about it, right? Because, you know, he is someone with a lot of different variants, and something that they could easily whip up for this incursion raid, multiversal kind of team thing that's going on, you know, with Nowhere, with the Star-Lord Annihilation and things like that. Secondly, I do want to talk about Enchantress. Enchantress is a very well-known Asgardian mystic character, and I think that this would... honestly, I'm surprised we haven't had her yet, you know, because I think that this is a pretty huge inclusion for any mystic, cosmic, Asgardian, somewhat affiliated team. I would be very shocked if this is in fact what we're getting, that Enchantress isn't there, because I feel like this would be a huge miss to not include her, unless the lore, Boundless's lore version would suggest otherwise. The next thing that I want to talk about, and this one is probably something that people have been talking about for a while, and where I don't know where this is headed necessarily, is Odin. Now, the reason why I said that just a bit ago was because I always thought that Odin would be a legendary character. I thought that he was big enough, in my opinion, that he could be a legendary character. And so this puts 2 thoughts in my head, and one being that, you know, maybe they'll just release him as a regular character. There's been a bunch of characters who I thought also could be legendaries, you know, like Kang, for example, who were not. And so there is a chance that obviously Odin could just be a standard character in Marvel Strike Force. My second thoughts was, well, you know, maybe Odin actually could be the second trial character. There is a chance that he could be at the very end of the patch, and therefore he could still be a trial character. That would be weird, because Nova was like at the start of the patch. Odin would be at the end of the next patch. And if we go back and look at the dates, we'll do that in a little bit here, and look at the dates between the different Horseman characters, that it's not actually outside the realm of possibility that we would be getting a trial character at the end of next patch, which would be basically end of July, early August, that kind of time frame, you know, as the patch starts from next week for about 6 weeks' time. Now, this is where we start to have to think about some very left field possibilities, just because, you know, this is Boundless, right? You got to think ahead. You got to think like they do. You got to think like, okay, well, there might be some affiliated characters, and then there's going to be something really weird, like Korg and Thor on a team with Nova, Cosmo, and Star-Lord. So those 3 make sense. Korg and Thor make sense as a duo, but not all together. In my opinion, I think that was super left field. I had no idea. I wouldn't have expected that one bit. So here's now I don't know if this one's likely. This is Dormammu from the Avengers Stone Age. And the reason why I thought about this is because we had Black Panther Stone Age, part of the War Dogs team. So what that tells me is that they're willing to go into the past to find a character that's not even affiliated with the characters that they're being matched up with. You know, so Agamotto of the Stone Age. I believe that Agamotto does exist actually through. I'm not super familiar with the lore as it sits right now. There is a comic series called Strange Academy where he has, I believe, resurrected or something like that, and so he is still alive. He's just like that kind of mystic force there that he, I don't know, creates a human form for himself essentially, and that's what you're seeing here. Is that a possibility? Who knows? That would be a very left field pick, I think, for me. But, you know, I was trying to figure out what other Mystic characters could possibly be in here that they could try and somewhat manage. The other two, maybe a little bit more possible. Now, Frank Castle, Cosmic Ghost Rider. Now, this is a different universe. This is Universe Earth, whatever the hell this is, TRN 666. I've seen the Cosmic Ghost Rider comics, haven't actually read them, but I do know that this is a thing that, you know, it's Frank Castle, aka Punisher from a different universe, who's become the Cosmic Ghost Rider. And this was kind of rumored in the past a little bit, and this would be a little bit left field, but if you think about it in the context of that Val is a keeper of Valhalla, that there is some sort of afterlife or almost like, yeah, that kind of theme going on. I know that Odin doesn't really fit that, but he is like the king of Asgard, so hey, whatever, we're just going to chuck him in there. You know, that's a completely another conversation altogether. And so I thought that maybe this would be really cool. This would also fit the variant aspect of Marvel Strike Force that's going on right now, so it would fulfill the variant nature of Ghost Rider, and it would be a left field pick. So that's kind of what happened with Thor Infinity War, is that I don't think anyone thought that was going to come alongside Nova, and he was like a variant version of him. So hey, 2 for 2 here on Cosmic Ghost Rider. So that's one thing that I thought of. The last one, also a little bit of a left field pick, Satana Hellstrom. Now, we do know that Mephisto is going to be in the game. Satana, if I'm not mistaken, is, I believe, Mephisto's daughter. Yeah, I thought. No, maybe not. Okay, maybe I'm a bit confused. I thought there was some relation, anyways, between them. Maybe not. See, I don't know that much about this side of the Mystic verse in Marvel, but Satana is a character that has been talked about here and there for a while, and this one for me, I'm not too convinced that this might happen, but it is a bit of a left field pick. I think Cosmic Ghost Rider is probably a little bit more likely than these, and so for that reason, I want to kind of bring up my character spreadsheet, and this is kind of what I thought about that's going to be happening in patch 7.2. So I don't know if and let's zoom in a little bit actually, just so it's easier for everyone else to read. So I don't know how likely it is that Big Time Spidey is necessarily going to be the first character of this patch. Super Skrull's going to be in here somewhere, so it's very likely that let's say, for example, that Vol could be here, that Big Time Spidey could still come out, and then a week after we'll get the offers and pre-release at the end of the month for Vol, and that still falls within June, which is Pride Month. And then I don't know, I was looking at some sort of afterlife tag. I don't know, who knows what the team name is going to be called. I don't know, I'm not going to wager a guess. That's just a theme that I came up with because of Vol, Enchantress, Ghost Rider, Cosmic, Satana, and Odin. Now I put Odin in like bigger font here because it's possible, like I said, that he could be towards the end of the month, and he could be a trial number 2. And the reason for this is that the timing for Nova was on May the 18th. Now, keep that in mind, because normally a 6-character patch, this started on May the 10th, and this is going to go for about 5-6 weeks or so, I believe, because we're going to be looking at June 20th. So about 40-ish days or so from Gwenpool's release. And so from there, it would be wagering that Odin could land as a trial by about end of July, early August. I want to kind of take a look back at, I was going to say Nemesis, Archangel, who came out on the 13th of December, and the gap between him and Red Hulk was the 20th of September. Now, 20th of September to the 13th of December. is less than 3 months. It was about 10, 11 weeks, I think, thereabouts. I haven't done the strict calculation there, but, so it's not within the realm of or it is within the realm of possibility that, we could still get a second trial, within 2 months or just shortly thereafter, because, they're playing a different game here. They're not doing necessarily the Apocalypse style. They are going to be releasing things within possibly 3 or 4 trials, like it was last year, but it's not going to have a culmination of a character at the end of it, is what we were told. And so I think that there's a good chance that some of this is going to come true. I definitely think that there's a high possibility that Vol's going to come out, and I think that that would make sense to come alongside that Mystic Raid team. Things that I've heard as well have kind of suggested that this is to be the case, unless things get pushed back. But that's just what I think and what I've heard. Let me know in the comments down below what you think and what's likely. Let me know about other characters that you might want to see on this team. I mean, I'm not sold necessarily on all of this stuff. I think that for sure maybe like 1 or 2 of these could come true. But otherwise, I'm open to suggestions and what you think might be plausible with Vol as sort of, at least being on that team there. So that's everything, everyone. And until next time, stay safe and healthy. And I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.